In Module 13, you learned about tonality, the hierarchical differentiation of scale pitches in Western music of the Common Practice period. It is the idea that melodies and harmonies are all oriented towards a single referential pitch, the tonic. The dominant and the leading tone have the job of returning to the tonic, and the remaining scale degrees are all pathways to proceed from the tonic to the dominant, or the leading tone, and then back to the tonic. In Module 13, we focused on melody. In this module, we will focus on harmony. Harmonic function is the relationship of a chord to the tonic of a piece or section of music. Each chord built on each scale degree has a role to play within that scale. That role can be one of stability, one of motion away from stability, or one of expectation for resolution back to stability. There are three main types of harmonic function that have these three roles: tonic function, predominant function, and dominant function. Tonic function, or T, is stable. It is where all chords want to return to. Predominant function, or PD, is the pathway to dominant harmony. It is like connective tissue. Dominant function, or D, wants to return home to tonic. These harmonic functions exist in both major and minor modes. The one chord in root or first inversion almost always has tonic function. It is the most stable harmony and is the chord built upon the tonic scale degree. The 5 chord in any inversion, and as either a triad or 7th chord, can have dominant function. It creates the expectation that we will return to tonic because it has the leading tone as a chord member, and because the motion from the dominant to the tonic harmony involves root motion from sol to do, which is a strong descending 5th motion. The 7 chord in any inversion, and as either a triad or 7th chord, can also have dominant function because it contains the leading tone and because it shares 2 pitches with the 5 chord. All remaining harmonies can have predominant function with a few double agents. These double agents are the 3 and the 6 chord. They may have predominant or tonic function depending on the harmonic context. They have tonic function when immediately following a 1 chord, for the same reason that the 7 chord had dominant function. They share 2 pitches in common with the tonic chord. The 6 chord also belongs to the special circumstance of a deceptive cadence, in which we expect a 1 chord after the dominant, and instead we get a 6 chord. In this scenario, it functions as the tonic harmony, just not the one we expected. Think of harmonic function like gravity. The tonic function is the floor. It's where all objects, or chords in this case, want to get to. Picture a textbook resting on that floor. It is at rest and stable. Now imagine picking up that textbook and slowly raising it out in front of you at shoulder height. The journey from floor to shoulder height is predominant function. Not only does it connect our journey to what happens next, but it also creates tension as we move further and further away from the floor. Now think about dropping that textbook. That moment of expectation before you let go is dominant function. You know what has to happen next. When you let go, that textbook will fall to the floor. Now imagine that you drop the textbook and it lands on the floor with a satisfactory thud. It's back on the floor, resting and stable again. When we combine harmonic function with harmonic progression, the movement from one chord to the next in Western music of the Common Practice period, we find that a pattern emerges called the phrase model. The phrase model is an idealized concept that the harmony in a phrase, that thing we learned about in Module 23, will proceed from stable to unstable to expectancy for the release of tension and then return back to stable. In this idealized world, all phrases have a harmonic underpinning that precedes tonic to predominant to dominant to tonic. You will find that many musical concepts have an idealized definition or a paradigm that music theorists use to explain it. However, many times that ideal or paradigm is played with in musical composition. For instance, the phrase model can sometimes omit the predominant and merely precede tonic, dominant, tonic. What about phrases that end in a half cadence? They don't end on the one chord. In that case, their phrase model is tonic, predominant, dominant. While learning a paradigm for a musical concept and then immediately seeing music in which that paradigm is ignored can be aggravating as a student, it also shows all the wonderful possibilities and creativity that music holds. If every piece of music were written as expected, musical life would be pretty boring. Instead, it is finding the many ways in which composers play with these paradigms that brings intrigue to our musical lives.